Annyeonghaseyo! Welcome to the country where almost half of the population share the last name. You may be forgiven for becoming confused of what is what and who is who. Welcome to South Korea. In this video, you will gain the information about the history, geography, economy, culture, and some facts of South Korea. But first, let me introduce to you myself. I am Jessa A.3, and this is the map that I made. And obviously, the country that I chose is South Korea. History of Korea. Around 668 AD, several competing kingdoms were unified into a single domination of the Korean peninsula. Successive regimes maintained Korean political and cultural independence for more than 1,000 years. The last of these ruling kingdoms would be the Joseon dynasty of 1392 to 1910. After Japan's defeat in 1945, the United States and the Soviet Union divided the peninsula into two zones of influence. By August 1948, the pro-US Republic of Korea, or the South Korea, was established in Seoul, led by the strongly anti-communist Syngman Rhee. South Korea is located in Eastern Asia and sits on the southern half of the Korean peninsula. The only land borders are with North Korea, with which South Korea shares the Korean peninsula. The Korean peninsula is surrounded by the West Sea or the Yellow Sea, the South Sea or the East China Sea, and the East Sea or the Sea of Japan. South Korea has a coastline of about 2,413 kilometers or 1,500 miles in length. The capital of South Korea is Seoul. South Korea is roughly the size of England or Portugal and about one half of the size of Germany. South Korea is slightly smaller than the US state of Pennsylvania or even 7 times smaller than Texas. And did you know that South Korea is a mountainous country with about 70% of the land covered by the hills and mountains? And Namsan, or the Nan Mountain, overlooks the capital city of Seoul. Moon Jae-in is their current president, wherein since May 2017 to the next election will be on March 2022. Koreans share one language, with approximately 70 million people around the globe speaking Korean. The language structure, grammar, and vocabulary are similar to Japanese. South Korea supports religious freedom. Confucianism, Buddhism, and Christianity are the main formal religions. Many Koreans believe in the ancestral spirit and observe Confucian rituals. Confucianism is a political and social philosophy that pervades the Korean culture. South Korea is one of the strongest economies in Eastern Asia and one of the biggest economies in Asia. And among the 4 Asian tiger countries, which also include Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong. The trading partners are China, USA, Japan, Germany, and Vietnam. Big Korean companies are Samsung, Hyundai, LG Electronics, and Lotte Group. The Lotte World Tower in Seoul is the biggest or highest building in the country and the 5th highest in the world. Samsung is everywhere, and it is one of the largest technology countries in the world. Historically, Chinese and Japanese influences were seen in South Korean art. Aesthetic concepts and motifs were shared. Korean music and arts were linked to natural cycles and religion, giving rise to a folk culture in rural areas that are still considered popular. And did you know that Gangnam Style by Psy, a South Korean musician, achieved worldwide fame in 2012? This song refers to the Gangnam district of Seoul, a trendy classy area equated with London, Paris, or Hollywood. Oppa Gangnam Style. Hey, sexy lady. Op, 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 op. Foreign influences have produced a fast food and coffee culture in recent years, especially within Seoul. And did you know that kimchi is their national dish? And kimchi is life in South Korea. Bowing is a traditional way to greet in South Korea. It is also their way to show respect. And hanbok is their traditional costumes in which they wear this hanbok every festival occasions or special anniversary.
The top 5 surprising things you didn't know about South Korea. Number 5. Nearly half the population has the same name. With a population of just over 50 million people, we understand if you don't take us at our word. So, here are some facts. Roughly 22% of South Koreans have the last name Kim, while approximately 23% of the population shares the last names Lee and Park. Number 4. Many South Koreans fear the number 4. Tetraphobia, otherwise known as the fear of the number 4, is a real problem in South Korea. The issue stems from the fact that in many East Asian languages, the word for 4 sounds very similar to the word for death. Because of this and the fact that many South Koreans are extremely superstitious, the number 4 is often skipped or replaced with an F on floor numbers and room numbers in hospitals, elevators, and other public spaces. South Koreans are also averse to using red when writing letters. The color symbolizes death, so you'd be wise to keep that in mind the next time you send a letter to your South Korean pen pal. Number 3. They practice crime recreation. In South Korea, people who are suspected of heinous crimes like murder and rape can be forced by the police to return to the scene of the crime and recreate it, all while bound by rope or handcuffs. Number 2. It is the largest market for plastic surgery per capita in the world. Beauty lies in the eye of the beholder. That old adage has never been truer than it is in South Korea, where everybody and their grandmother has had a little work done. The country has what some might call an obsession with plastic surgery, and has long been known as the country with the highest per capita plastic surgery rate in the world. You simply can't walk down the street without bumping into someone who's had a little tuck, lift, or tightening done somewhere on his or her body. Oh, and if you think men are exempt from the country's wave of excessive vanity, you are sorely mistaken. South Korea is also the world's biggest market for men's cosmetics. Number 1. They count age differently. In South Korea, you are considered 1 year old the day you're born. Then you turn 1 year older on New Year's Day. What this means is that South Koreans have 2 ages, their Korean age and their international age.
And that's all for today's video. I know that some of the generations today wants to visit in South Korea. I hope you learned something in this video. That's all. 감사합니다.
Sexy lady. Oppa Gangnam Style. Hey, sexy lady. Oppa Gangnam Style. Oppa Gangnam Style.